Ready? If you're not ready, tell me you're not ready, man. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and you know the vibe. Let's watch the Swamp Story by the Evil Wall, Florida. Our Kodak crew killed the OPPS mom and dad. That's crazy. That's tragic. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of Swamp Stories. For this one, we head down to Miami, Florida. Okay, wait. I think I chose the wrong beat. Oh yeah, there we go. Anyways, Miami is by far the most unique part of America, and many people say that when they're there, it feels like a completely different country. And that's because in some ways it really is. Let me explain. Prior to the 1920s, the entire Miami region was pretty much empty swampland. Then in the 1920s, rich people from the East Coast started buying up land on the coast and building vacation homes. This is pretty much all it was for decades. Millionaire hideouts where guys could cheat on their wives with other guys. And I'm not making that up. But then comes the night where guys could cheat on vacation homes. This is pretty much all it was for decades. Millionaire hideouts where guys could cheat on their wives with other guys. And I'm not making that up. But then comes the 90s, guys could cheat on their vacation homes. This is pretty much all it was for decades. Millionaire hideouts where guys could cheat on their wives with other guys. And I'm not making that up. But then comes the 1960s when Cuba's government is overthrown by communism and hundreds of thousands of residents flee the country.
A hushed crowd of Cuban exiles, as well as ambulances and medical teams, await the arrival of the liberation plane from Havana.
Starting in 1960, over 500,000 Cubans were able to escape and arrived at the shore of Miami. They came over with absolutely nothing and quickly built their own communities throughout the region. While they certainly wouldn't be the last people to migrate to Miami, as next would be the Jamaicans and the Haitians in the 1970s. And just like the Cubans, the Haitians and Jamaicans would form their own communities and neighborhoods, and so did the Colombians in the 1980s, and the list goes on. Okay, I actually forgot why I brought that up, but I guess the more you know. So sorry for wasting your time on that. And the craziest part is that the video doesn't even take place in Miami. In fact, it all takes place just north in the suburbs of Broward County. Welcome to Broward County, Florida, a county full of suburb after suburb after suburb after suburb. No, seriously, when I say endless suburbs, look at this map. But it's not your typical suburbs. I don't know how to say this, but it's not high class. Like, you know those memes that say Florida man and then it's something absolutely crazy? Those are the kind of people that you'll see in Broward County. Cheap, unfinished tattoos, flip-flops at a restaurant, you know, just ugh. But that being said, Broward is actually pretty peaceful and it's a really good place to live. A cheap, suburban, affordable option to Miami. Really nothing to complain about. Now, based on the title of the video, you might be confused, like demons in the suburbs that are safe? Something's not adding up. But let me reassure you that just like anywhere, Broward has its hoods too. Broward County definitely has hoods too, and believe it or not, despite being surrounded by suburbia, these are some of the worst hoods you could possibly imagine. Demonic spirits, evil practices, lighting your ops on fire, and things you've never seen before. In this practices, lighting your ops on fire, and things you've never seen before. In this video, you'll see the extremely dark side of Broward where nothing is off limits and gang members will do anything to take down their rivals. Trust me, this video will absolutely blow your mind, but before we get into it, let me run the intro.
Hey. Shout out to Swamp Story, man.
The story begins in the small city of Dania Beach, Florida. It's a small middle-class city of 31,000 people, and like 75% of it is the Fort Lauderdale airport. I kid you not. The city pretty much revolves around the airport, both literally and... what's the other word? I forget. But the point is that Dania grew as a city of immigrant workers who took jobs at the airport, at the Everglades port, and at the refineries right up the street. Just a good old blue-collar city, a much different world than the glitz and glamour of Miami. Basically just a bunch of families trying to uplift themselves from poverty and provide a better life for their children. For the most part, this went pretty well, as many Dania kids went off to college and pursued careers and, you know, took their families to the next level. Overall, Dania was a good place to live, a much better affordable option compared to the ghettos and housing projects of Carroll City and Miami itself. This is how it was for many years, until the late 1990s when Miami's most wicked gang would come infiltrate the neighborhood.
Of course.
In 1990, a Haitian gang known as the Zo Pound was created by Ali Adam, also known as Zo. Zoe was born and raised in Haiti's most violent slums and was able to escape and come to Miami in the 1980s. But unlike his peers, Zoe did not come to Miami for a better life. In fact, he was there with nothing but bad intentions on his mind. As soon as he arrived in Miami, he began committing the most brazen robberies Miami had ever seen. At night, he would somehow sneak onto yachts and rob everyone for all of their valuables. For a short while, he did this alone, but then once he built up his crew, the robberies got bigger and bigger. They began hijacking major container ships, robbing everything on board, and killing anyone that saw them do it. Basically, from here, he turned his robbery crew into a gang and started expanding by recruiting new members from Haitian descent. The Zoe Pound started taking over neighborhoods one block at a time by threatening families and basically making everyone so scared of them that they'd never tell on them. Because of this, the gang spread like a wildfire throughout the Miami streets, taking over drug territories and racking in millions of dollars. Long story short, they became the most feared gang that Miami had ever seen, so much so that Miami police refused to try and arrest them and would rather call the FBI to go and handle it. Well, after taking over most of Miami, it was only a matter of time before they expanded up to Broward County. Sadly, in 1999, they arrived in Dania Beach. In particular, they targeted a neighborhood right below the airport, and they did this for two reasons. Number one is the proximity to the port, meaning that they had easy access to shipments to rob. And secondly, because the neighborhood had a large Haitian population. So unfortunately, Zoe Pound took over the hood with ease, and many youths were corrupted into vicious gang life. This was bad news for the community, as illegal money flooded the streets, Zoe Pound members were posting up on corners, and violent crime rates started to appear. The bottom line is that the neighborhood turned into a Zoe Pound powerhouse, and things would start to get ugly. Well, coincidentally, during this time, many families from the Deep South started to move to Dania for better opportunities, and the sons from two of these families are the main topic of the video, so after all that yapping, here we are. First, we have the Slade family of Dothan, Alabama, and second, we have the Smart family of Jacksonville, Florida. Long story short, both of these families moved to this Dania neighborhood thinking that it was a breath of fresh air and a good environment to raise their kids, obviously. Well, little did they know, but now let's introduce the kids. Well, first we have Derek Slade, who was raised in a small house on 12th Avenue. And second, we have Cambrel Smart, who was raised in a small apartment on 5th Street. Derek and Cambrel grew up as best friends as they went to school together since day one. And unfortunately, maybe due to their surrounding neighborhood, these two were wild kids, known for getting suspended for fighting, stealing, just pure chaos coming from this duo. They were simply just causing havoc in the neighborhood for no reason. Now, typically, teenagers like these in this neighborhood would grow up to be Zoe Pound members, but I think because they're not Haitian, neither of these guys joined the crew. Instead, they were just running their own program, trying to run up a bunch of money in the streets. For them, this meant hitting licks and moving weight, even at just 12 years old. In fact, at this age in 2007, this is when Cambrel would be arrested for the first time.
I caught my first charge, delivery at 13, 12 or 13. When I caught the charge, I was playing football. That's when I was playing for Dania Bulldogs. I was walking to practice, and that's when the Raiders jumped out and grabbed me. You feel me? I'm like, what they grab me for? I got football clothes on, you feel me? I'm legit. So I'm like, what they grab me for? Whole time they got pictures of me serving, you feel me?
God damn.
Running up the car.
It may sound crazy, but Cambrel was moving some serious weight at such a young age, and because of this, he would get some real time in juvenile hall. Now, as we know, juvenile hall is meant for rehabilitation, but in reality, it's the exact opposite. Because as soon as Cambrel went to juvenile, he was instantly known for causing havoc again and starting all kinds of shit. And this is how he earned the nickname of Syko Bob, because, you know, everyone thought that he was psycho. But even though he was in there doing all kinds of fighting, being in juvenile hall may have actually saved his life. And even if it didn't save his life, it definitely saved him from doing the unthinkable. Why I say this? Well, because while he was locked away, his best friend Derek was out in the streets doing the wildest things possible.
Jumping off that porch for real.
It's now the year 2008, and after Syko Bob's arrest, Derek Slade was left in the streets without his bestie. But just because he no longer had his partner in crime does not mean that his life of crime stopped at all. In fact, it only got worse, and that's because he started hanging with an older homie in the hood. This would be a 17-year-old named Terry Moore, and despite being just 17 years old, he was already known for So unfortunately, an already wild and impressionable Derek now had a horrible influence. Sadly, he began toting and thinking that it's okay to bust on somebody just because— whoa, pause. But you get the point. So while just a freshman at South Broward High School, Derek was walking around like the big man on campus. I'm really like that, nobody can tell me nothing, and if you step to me, I will do something vicious to you. And the case is sealed, so I can't really get into details, but Derek does something crazy. Allegedly, an older classmate doesn't like the way that Derek is walking around acting tough, so he tries him, and then after school, you know, Derek does what he does. Thankfully though, Derek pulled a Ben Simmons and everyone was okay. But either way, instantly he would be caught and word would start spreading around town. Derek Slade was
Ben Simmons, I'm dead. That's what he missed.
becoming known as a crash hound, and because of this, he started being known as Soulja. I guess Soulja was let off easy, cause just a year later, he was back roaming the streets. Soulja and Terry running around Broward doing whatever they want. This was bad news, and even though they weren't gang affiliated and didn't have ops, them being out and about was a danger to every community. And that takes us to November 5th, 2009. It's a regular Thursday night in Dania Beach, and a man named Antonio Brown is at his grandma's house on 7th Street. Well, from what the rumors say, Antonio may have done a little business with Soulja and Terry in the past and may have owed them a couple of dollars. But to this point, Antonio thought that they were all cool, like we're all from the same hood just blocks away from each other. But little does he know, Terry and Soulja think they're the mafia and they want to prove a point. So at 8:30 p.m. the dangerous duo meet up and they walk down to Antonio's house. They knock on the door like any other day, and a family member of Antonio opens up and lets them in. They then walk through the house looking for Antonio, and that's when they spot him sitting in the backyard. Tragically, this is when they make a horrible decision.
Damn, they kill him?
After doing this horrible act, they try to run away, but are eventually caught by police. After doing this horrible act, they try to run away, but are eventually caught by police later in the night. From what people in Dania say, Antonio was known as a really solid dude. Like, he may not have been perfect like no one is, but he definitely did not deserve what happened to him. Either way, what they did was an evil decision, a decision they have to live with for the rest of their lives. The courts would prosecute them, but in my opinion, just simply not enough. According to records, Terry got 6 years with 5 years probation, and for Soulja, well, he would get the maximum juvenile sentence to be released on his 21st birthday. I don't know if I consider this justice, but at least they got some kind of punishment. But unfortunately, this meant that Soulja was now reunited with his best friend, him and Syko Bob in juvenile hall.
Oh, hell nah.
Hey, we're back together. Look where we are now.
Now, like I said before, juvenile hall is supposed to rehabilitate, but we know that doesn't really happen. So the entire time that they were in there, they were fighting, politicking, and kind of going down the path of this is gonna be my adult life. Upon their respective releases, they both decided to join a gang. This would be a small but vicious clique in their neighborhood known as On-Site, started by a man named On-Site Eno. And for whatever reason, Eno took a special liking to Soulja, really took him under his wing. Now this is bad news, because Eno is one of the
Hold up, guys.
the worst gang members probably Dania has ever seen. In fact, he was once arrested for killing his best friend and fellow on-site member over a girl, and then he ended up beating it, but then they tried to kill him. The point is that he's just a wild dude. And this is who Soulja began running with in the streets. This was obviously a horrible combination, and everyone knew it, even his best friend Syko. The bottom line is that Syko was not trying to crash out, so he kind of distanced himself and it's like, I'm still your friend, but stay over there with that shit. This would end up being a really smart decision, because as soon as Soulja got home, he began reaping havoc on the streets of Broward.
Wait, so they stopped being friends? What the fuck?
So now we fast forward to the fall of 2015. It's the fall of 2015 and Soulja is finally home. And unlike Syko, who had previously come home on some chill shit, Soulja, he was home tripping.
Like, man, what is Soulja on, bruh? He's tweaking. He just got out and he's already trying to go back in? Like, what is he thinking? Bruh, let's fall back. He's either gonna get one of us hurt or he's gonna get us in jail. Let him do his own thing.
So everyone around Soulja thankfully made the smart decision to fall back and let him do his own crashing out. Tragically, Soulja decides to go on one of the deadliest streaks in Florida history for no reason at all. And it would all begin on November 3rd, 2015. It's 4:30 p.m. and Soulja borrows a family member's car, takes off the license plates, and begins roaming around. He drives all around Broward looking for house licks and waiting for the perfect opportunity. Then as he's making his way through Dania, something catches his eye. You may be thinking that he sees a big mansion with the front door open, but that's not the case at all. Instead, he's deep in the trenches and has his eyes set on a project building on the corner of 51st Street. So at 5 p.m. he double parks his car across the street, hops out, and begins walking up to the project. He approaches the door, tries to unlock it, and oh my goodness, it's already unlocked. So he walks in looking for items, and boom, right there's a man sitting on the couch. The man who's spooked jumps up instantly, and sadly, this is when Soulja makes a tragic decision. Another innocent life gone at the hands of Derek Soulja Slade. Well, somehow Slade was able to run back to his car and get away from police without being noticed. Now, you'd think that after committing such a heinous act, you'd want to lay low and duck police, right? And forget any moral reasons, cause he obviously didn't learn his lesson the first time. But how about ducking low from police? You just got out of juvenile hall and you're now an adult, so if they catch you for this—
No wonder why Trump stopping Haiti or Asian, all those because of, yeah, man, yeah, I don't need, man.
This, you're done. But no. Soulja didn't see it this way. In fact, in a twisted way, he saw it as an opportunity. Like, I failed the first lick, now I gotta go try again and succeed. So just the next day, in the same exact car, Soulja gets right back in the field. November 4th, 2015. It's a typical Friday night in Broward, and a man named Donald Johnston is at home with his friends and family. Boom! That's when somebody kicks down their door and runs inside. So of course, Donald and his friends jump up scared, and sadly, this is when Soulja makes a horrible, tragic decision. He begins unleashing on everyone in the room. After doing this, he quickly runs back to his car and drives away. Thankfully, 4 people would survive after being rushed to the hospital. However, Donald Johnston would lose his life. This was a major loss in Broward, as Donald's father was a Fort Lauderdale police officer and his mom was a Broward County sheriff. This was unbelievably tragic, and police were determined to get justice for the family. However, for the meantime, Soulja actually covered his tracks pretty well, at least well enough to continue being out and committing horrible crimes. Yes, even after this, Soulja would still not change his lifestyle. That fast forwards us exactly 3 weeks, November 25th, 2015. It's the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and Derek Slade is not in a thankful mood. Instead, he has plans to do the opposite and to go take something, which actually personifies Thanksgiving more accurately. I shouldn't say that though. Well, this time he stays away from his previous targeted areas and heads up to Hollywood, Florida. In fact, he targets a specific person that he actually knows, somebody that's known for flexing on the gram. A man who I won't name, but after seeing him flex on Instagram, Slade gets an idea to go rob him, and he knows exactly where he lives. So at 9 p.m. he drives over to Hollywood by himself with 2 choppers. At 9:15 he arrives to the 2300 block of Mayo Street and walks up to the targeted house. With 1 chopper tucked on his waist and 1 around his shoulder, he kicks down the door and jumps in the house. After making it through the house, he realizes that nobody's home, so he opens up a bag and begins filling up items. However, he's not exactly finding what he was looking for. He really wants the expensive items that he saw on Instagram. So he then scuffles through the man's closet, and finally he finds the watches. These watches are obviously faker than a white Jamaican, but whatever. The bottom line is that he grabs the watches, but little does he know, this is when the man comes home. He sees that his front door is kicked down, so he instantly runs inside looking to see what's going on. That's when he runs into Soulja in his room, and sadly, Soulja makes a tragic decision.
Not again. Come on, Soulja. Yo,
now again, after committing
Soulja's a crash out, nigga, for real.
Such a heinous act, you'd think that Soulja would want to lay low and stay off the net. But nope, instead he posts a picture on Instagram of the watches that he just stole.
What a dumbass. Oh my goodness. Why?
Man, what the hell?
At this point, he pretty much wants to go to jail for life, but thankfully Broward County would— well, not thankfully, but thankfully for him, Broward County police would not figure anything out, at least for the meantime. So sadly, Soulja was still on the streets living his wild old lifestyle. He committed 3 senseless murders in a month and still didn't even think to slow down. This guy is easily one of the worst people I've ever covered, but for the meantime, let's focus back on Syko. Bye bye Soulja and hello Syko, cause the rest of the video will be focused on you. It's now the year 2016 and Syko Bob is now 21 years old. And while his best friend has been crashing out bad, he's been in the hood hustling and hanging out with the homies. So not exactly the perfect path, but at least he's not being violent. However, within the next year, a war would start brewing in Broward, with multiple hoods beefing with multiple hoods.
Literally so much beef and so many bodies that I could make like 7 separate videos on this.
But to keep this story simple, I'm going to introduce what caused the beef and then basically keep it centered on Syko Bob, because he is a very important part. So now let's start with the beginning of the beef in Broward. Everything began in the small city of Hollywood, Florida, but more specifically a hood known as Zone 10. Zone 10 is a newer small hood headed by rappers like Wiz the Wizard, Wham Spin and Bin, and Z10 Blood. And these dudes, despite being from a smaller clique and having silly names, are actually absolute savages. Zero respect and absolutely no limits on what they'll do to a rival, just pure evil coming out of Zone 10. And during this time, these dudes thought that they were the bullies of the area. I mean, they were getting money, taking people's girls, and like waiting for somebody to try them. Basically, they felt untouchable, like they were too hard for the streets of Broward, and unfortunately, this wouldn't go well. Their brash, dismissive attitude definitely pissed some people off, and sadly, it would result in a tragedy. October 17th, 2016. It's a regular Monday evening in Zone 10 and some youngins are outside. These would be 19-year-old Wajib Williams, also known as Jib, and 18-year-old DeAndre Greer, also known as Bankhead, and they're posted up on the block. Jib and Bankhead themselves are not necessarily hated, but Jib's older brother is Wiz the Wizard, possibly the most hated man in Broward. So unfortunately, because some people hate his brother, Jib himself is a target by association. Well, as he and Bankhead are posted up on the block, they have no clue that some angry rivals are spinning looking to send a message. At 8 PM, a man in a tinted Dodge Charger is spinning around looking for Wiz the Wizard himself. He circles around the hood multiple times, but he doesn't see anyone outside. But then as he turns onto the 700 block of 7th Avenue, he spots Jib and Bankhead posted up in front of their projects. He spots Jib and instantly recognizes him as Wiz's younger brother, so instantly he stops the car and a man hops out. Tragically, the man starts dumping on the duo.
Yeah, rest in peace, man. That's crazy.
Thankfully, Bankhead would survive after.
I'll be in a gang, man. You see what happened? Put all your family in danger. Shit.
After surgery, but either way, the loss of Jib was a major blow. Zone 10 saw this as a declaration of war, and none more than Wiz the Wizard. You smoked my little brother because you don't like me? Nah, bruh. F everything. No more talking. Let's just go to war.
But wait, there is actually some talking.
Cause as soon as police visited Bankhead in the hospital, he began telling them everything that they wanted to hear. He identified exactly who popped him and Jib, and he told the police exactly which car they were in. Now before you start calling him whatever you want to call him, just understand the situation. He just lost his best friend and he's recovering in the hospital. You would have told too, I don't care what you say. So yeah, just like that, days later Jib's killer would be arrested.
Bye-bye, buddy.
But just because Jib's actual killer was arrested did not mean that there wouldn't be revenge. So regardless, all of Zone 10 would suit up and wage war on whoever did this. Now this is how the story finally revolves back to Syko Bob.
He smoked Jib?
No. Quite the opposite actually. Basically, when the war broke out between Zone 10 and who I'm about to tell you about, everyone was forced to take a side. And that introduces us to the people who allegedly claimed the life of Jib. Welcome to Liberia, by far the most dangerous hood in South Florida. This place has a history of wicked steppers longer than Serge Ibaka and gray sweatpants. No, for real, in all seriousness, Liberia is like a mini New Orleans, and for this generation, they're represented by a clique called HMT. And if you're wondering what that means, it stands for Hit My Target, and that should tell you everything that you need to know. They're represented by the rappers HMT Trey, Liberia Sig, Zelly, and Lil Hatch, and let me just tell you that these guys have no cap in their raps. Well, whether it's true or not, this is the hood that was rumored to be responsible for Jib and Bankhead. Basically, Liberia were the bullies of Broward for many years, and then came, Zone 10 thinking they're the and that's why Liberia allegedly targeted them. So just like that, the big bullies go to war, Liberia versus Zone 10. But Liberia wasn't satisfied with just that. In fact, they wanted everyone to choose a side. You're either with us or you're with them. There's no straddling the fence. So this is when Syko Bob and his hood come into the picture. Syko's hood is known as the Nightmares, and many of their guys have a close relationship with Zone 10. So basically for Syko and his hood, clicking up with Zone 10 was a no-brainer, despite Liberia being just right below them. In fact, together Zone 10 and the Nightmares would form an alliance known as MM, more money, more motion, and more murder. Ooh, this was a big deal. So now that you understand the sides, let's dive into the action.
Yep, let's go. Let's go.
When the Nightmares decided to click up with Zone 10, Liberia was pissed, and given the fact that they're right next to each other, this was bad news for the Nightmares. So quickly, Syko Bob would learn about Liberia's savage ways. July 18th, 2017. It's a Tuesday afternoon in Dania, and Syko Bob is chilling at his neighborhood store with his friend named Brad. He's munching on pork rinds while knocking down a mountain. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know, I just made that up. But he's outside on the block when a tinted up car slowly rolls by. He's not paying attention, and this is when the car creeps up and rolls down their window. Out of nowhere, shots start flying and Syko and Brad start running. They disperse into the neighborhood, and thankfully both of them are untouched. But either way, this was a message sent and a message received. Liberia was trying to scare them, but little did they know, Syko ain't scared of shit. All this did is wake up two beasts, as instantly Syko and Brat strap up and get to going. And that fast forwards us 4 days, July 22nd, 2017. It's a Friday night in Broward, and there's a major house party planned for later in the night. Now you'd think that after declaring war on Syko and Brat, you'd want to lay low and stay out of the mix. But for whatever reason, the Liberia members who did this were not worried about them at all. Like, we're the big dogs, we do whatever we want. So not only do they go to the party, but they also record themselves on social media and post it. It's 2 in the morning and the house party is so jumping that it turns into a block party. Wigs, wicks, twerking, my kind of party. Yeah. Well, as soon as Syko and Brat see this on social media, they instantly get ready. They grab 2 choppers, hop in Brat's car,
This thing make me hot. Like sweaty and shit, that's good.
and head out to the party in West Park. At 2:30, they arrive to the party as they park on 48th and begin walking. 2 dudes open carrying choppers making their way to the house party, alarming everyone around. They're scaring the hoes as they're making their way through the street, everyone is quietly scattering around. Then when they make it to the front of the house, that's when they see their Liberia rivals. So instantly Syko and Brad start letting off. After emptying their clips, they make the smart decision to sprint back to their car and to drive away.
Party over, go home, party over.
Thankfully, the Liberia HMT guys were okay, but still, this was a major move in Broward. This confirmed the new war. We're not scared of you and we'll pull up on you anywhere you are, at a party, literally anywhere. But thankfully this would have to pause as, you know,
Brat and Syko jumped out with no masks in front of hundreds of people. So in typical Florida fashion, everyone told on them.
So now Syko is extra mad, like, you pop me for no reason, then I slide back and you snitch on me? What are we even doing? Alright, bet, just wait till I come home, it won't be pretty. Home? What do you mean come home? He just shot somebody in front of like 30,000 people. But remember that Syko doesn't have an adult criminal record, so the judge can definitely be lenient and give him a second chance. And this is exactly what happens as Syko successfully convinces the judge that he'll come home and completely change his life around. So as a result, he's gifted a 5-year sentence with parole after 3, truly getting off easy. So it's now late 2017 and Syko was sent to prison for 3 years. But actually, when he's in prison, he is given an opportunity to truly change his life forever. How, you might be wondering? Well,
a judge sentenced South Florida rapper Kodak Black to 4 years in prison on federal weapons charges.
Broward's most famous rapper ever hits the prison yard at the same exact time as Syko Bob. And because Kodak is ZMF and most of Syko's hood is ZMF, they began running together in prison. This is when Kodak learns that Syko is an upcoming rapper and that he's also a wicked stepper. Now let me just preface by saying that being a celebrity in prison is rough. Like, most celebrities will never hit the yard, they're sent straight to PC. It's really just too dangerous of an environment for a celebrity to be. It's almost like a liability to the prison. But Kodak being a big dog in the streets, he's not going to PC, and given this, he needs some muscle behind him. And for all intents and purposes, Syko Bob is a big part of the muscle. So during his prison stay, Syko Bob has his back, and as a result, he makes him a major promise. When you get out of prison, I'll sign you to my label and I'll jumpstart your career. Now this would be a major life-changing opportunity, and We'll see if it happens. But in the meantime, we focus back on our original main character of the episode. This of course would be our beloved Soldier, and unfortunately this is not good news. Or it is, depending on how you look at it. Well, finally, Soldier's wicked violent past will catch up with him.
The U.S. Attorney says 3 violent criminals are off the street tonight behind bars after years of terrorizing Broward County.
You born by the street, you die by the street, man. Trust me.
These 2 men are alleged members of a violent gang called Onsite. Court documents obtained by NBC6 say the Onsite gang lived up to its name to, quote, reflect the willingness of enterprise members to commit acts of extreme violence, including murder, without hesitation. 28-year-old Eric Hunter, a.k.a. E, and 27-year-old Derek Slade, a.k.a. 28-year-old...
He 20 years old? My boy don't look 20, man. My boy do not look 20. Stop copping. He don't look 20. This guy don't look 20. Don't come after me. I don't know if you're alive or not. I don't care. But please, gang members, don't come after me. I'm just reacting. Okay? I don't want no smoke. But he's not 20. Trust me.
Eric Hunter, a.k.a. E, and 27-year-old Derek Slade, a.k.a. D, arraigned today in federal E, and 27-year-old Derek Slade.
Oh, I'm back. Hold on.
The willingness of enterprise members to commit acts of extreme violence, including murder, without hesitation. 28-year-old Eric Hunter.
Oh, my bad. 28 years old. I'm about to say, shit. Cannot hear nothing. I'm sorry. My bad. My bad, darling. You look 28 for real. I thought you said 20 years old. This is when I run it back. I said, oh, okay.
A.k.a. E, and 27-year-old Derek.
I thought I heard 17. What the hell was wrong with me today?
Slade, a.k.a. D, arraigned today in federal court. Hunter is the alleged leader who planned, organized, and supervised the gang's criminal activity. Slade and a 3rd person arraigned earlier this month are alleged to carry out the crimes. The indictment says the criminals, quote, engaged in multiple acts of violence to intimidate victims and reduce likelihood of resistance, engaged in drive-by shootings to engender fear, and while incarcerated, maintained contact with others to achieve the goals of the enterprise.
Bye-bye, Soldier. The childhood best friends are now reunited, again behind bars. Soldier gets a double life sentence, so he's gone forever. And if you can remember Syko's other childhood best friend named Brat, well, he was in the on-site indictment as well, so he probably would have gotten life, except that he passed away before he could be arrested.
Rest in peace, man.
Well, now the year is 2020, and Syko Bob is finally released from prison. And as we know, Kodak promised to sign him to Sniper Gang and boost his rap career. But Kodak is still locked up, with no telling on when he'll be released. So for now, the music career talks are not a reality for Syko. But what is a reality is the fact that both of his best friends and partners in crime will never be back. Soldier gone to the system, and Brat no longer with us. And on top of no longer having his boys with him, a whole vicious hood wants to kill him. Life is not going so well for Syko upon his release. So basically, Syko says, F everything, I don't care anymore, I just want to go to war. If I end up in prison or in the grave, I simply do not care. Let's just bang it out. And that takes us to September 19th, 2020. It's a late Saturday night in Liberia, and a 19-year-old named Janavis Lewis is walking home. Janavis happens to be Liberia Sig's best friend and associated with some HMT members, but really he has nothing to do with the streets. He's really just born and raised in the neighborhood and grew up with all the gang members. Well, it's 11:15 as Janavis is walking in front of the New Hope Baptist Church. Unfortunately, as he's walking down the street, a tinted up Nissan happens to be spinning around the block looking for HMT members. The man in the car recognizes Janavis from pictures with Liberia Sig, so instantly he thinks he's a member. Sadly, the man lowers down his window and makes a tragic decision. Bam.
Damn.
This was a tragedy for all of Liberia, but none more than Liberia Sig, as this was really his best childhood friend. He played football, stayed out of the beef, and really tried to make it out, so this one really hit different. Liberia Sig was pissed, like, oh, we're targeting civilians now? Nobodies? Okay, watch this. October 15th, 2020. It's your average Thursday afternoon in Dania Beach as Syko Bob's mom is chilling on her front porch. Obviously her son has major beef, but as far as her, she has nothing to do with it. However, after a month of searching for Syko for revenge and not finding him, they result to hitting somebody closest to him. You took my best friend for no reason? Well, I'm gonna take somebody close to you for no reason as well. So after doing some research, Liberia Sig finds out where his mom lives and he wants to make a statement. At 5 p.m., Sig arrives in front of Syko Bob's childhood home, and right there is his mom named Dorothy Smart. Sadly, this is when Sig simply whips out and makes a terrible decision. Thankfully, she would be okay.
Oh nah, they're wildin'. They don't care. What the hell? They shot his mom. That's crazy. That's nuts.
Okay, after surgery, but my goodness, would this elevate the beef to a whole new level. A level that I have truly never seen before in my 4 years of making videos. Like now after this, absolutely nothing in the beef is off limits. Like if we're targeting moms, who else would be off limits? Ugh. Sadly, Liberia Sigwoods had a horrible trend going forward in Broward, as, well, you'll see. Now let's think about Syko Bob. Like, can you even imagine? You're trying to kill my mom? What the fuck are we even doing? And on top of all the anger and disgust towards the rivals, you also kind of have to internalize how you could have potentially put your mom in this situation. Because if you weren't in this vicious beef and you weren't targeting people from their side who had nothing to do with it, you could only assume that they wouldn't have done this to your mom. Not to say it excuses it, but I guess it explains it. Well, as you would imagine, this would be the lowest point in Syko Bob's life. Like, wow, they really did this to my mom. But crazy enough, his life would turn around for the better directly after this. Now we fast forward to January 20th, 2021, when Donald Trump makes a shocking decision in his last day in office.
And new this morning, ahead of leaving the White House, President Trump has issued his final list of presidential pardons and commutations. Other notable names on the list include rappers Lil Wayne and Kodak Black.
Kodak makes his shocking return home, and now the big question is, does he come through with his promises to Syko? And the answer is yes, and even more. Not only does he sign Syko Bob to Sniper Gang, but he also signs his friends Wiz Da Wizard and Wham Spin a Bin. Now most of us watching this are like, wow, this is his friends Wiz Da Wizard and Wham Spin a Bin.
Is that the one that he make a music Who I Smoke? Or I'm lying? It's the same Spin the Bin, right? I don't wanna lie, I don't wanna make him bad, you know?
Bin. Now most of us watching this are like, wow, this seems like a pretty cool thing to do. But in the streets of Broward, this was not a good decision. Well, actually it wasn't a bad decision, but what it did was involve Kodak in a war that he had nothing to do with. Unfortunately, the streets of Broward took this as Kodak choosing his side of the war. Like, oh, you're with them now? But in reality, it probably wasn't that. He probably was just genuine.
Okay, this one is, it just spun the bands. That one is a different, okay. I was about to say, those music was vicious. Yeah, they're different. That's different people. Yeah, they're different. Yeah, never mind.
Genuinely helping rappers who helped him out when he was in prison. That was it. But unfortunately, the streets would not see it this way, as this would only amplify the beef even more. And what made it even worse was pure jealousy, because Syko Bob, Wham, and Wiz, their careers would instantly go up. On top of this, Kodak would release a song called Nightmares as he's walking through Syko Bob's hood with a mask on. So obviously, with Syko's hood being known as the Nightmares, the Liberia rivals saw this and were like, oh, you're naming songs after their hood and then walking through their hood in the music video? Sounds like you're taunting and you're definitely choosing a side. So all intentions aside, this is now how it was. Like you're naming songs after them being known as the Nightmares, the Liberia rivals saw this and were like, oh, you're naming Syko's hood called Nightmares as he's walking through Syko Bob's up for jealousy, because Syko Bob, Wham, and Wiz, their careers would instantly go up. On top of this, Kodak would release a song called Nightmares as he's walking through Syko Bob's hood with a mask on. So obviously, with Syko's hood being known as the Nightmares, the Liberia rivals saw this and were like, oh, you're naming songs after their hood and then walking through their hood in the music video? Sounds like you're taunting and you're definitely choosing a side. So all intentions aside, this is now how it was. Liberia versus Zone 10, the Nightmares, and Sniper Gang. So now with all the elevated careers and fame, let's focus back on the beef. After Liberia made the bold decision to target Syko Bob's mom, the entire MM collective were pissed. Pissed enough to seek revenge in the worst way possible. Now we introduce you to HMT Trey's mom, a respected woman named Misty Hopkins. Now, despite her son being knee-deep in the street life, Misty herself has nothing to do with this. Instead, she's actually an entrepreneur who owns a laser removal and waxing company in Miami Gardens. But sadly, because of her son's shenanigans in the streets, well, you'll see. March 29th, 2021. It's an early Monday afternoon and Misty Hopkins is opening her shop for the day. Her employees haven't arrived yet, so it's just her opening up her shop and getting everything together. Alone tidying up the shop while on FaceTime with her best friend. Then as she's sweeping, a random man quietly walks in her store. This would be a man named James Hardwick, who you can actually see in WizTheWizard's music video just weeks prior. Well, James walks right up to Misty as she looks up and gets startled.
Oh, you scared me. Who are you and what are you here for?
And without responding or making a sound, James Hardwick simply whips out and makes a tragic decision. Her friend on the phone hears the boom and instantly she calls 911 for help. So 10 minutes later, police arrive, but sadly, it's far too late.
Here, a deadly shooting in Miami Gardens. At least one person killed here, and
them guys, they don't give a fuck. You know they did the revenge because you shot my mom and then I went back to it. But you shot the cousin, man. Shit is nuts over here out the street, man.
no word on any arrests.
I was not gonna keep stopping, but this story, man, is crazy.
Right out to Local 10, Syra Onward.
She's live on the scene with an update. Syra.
So right now I can tell you it's a woman who's the victim of this shooting that happened here at the Clearview Center in Miami Gardens. You can see there are a number of businesses within this complex. So right now it's unclear if this woman was working or visiting.
RUTHLESS.
A woman collapses in grief in front of officers after a shooting around 12:30 at the Clearview Center in Miami Gardens.
This was the ultimate evil act, as Misty Hopkins was a good woman who had nothing to do with the streets. The community was absolutely devastated, but none more than her son HMT Trey. To lose your innocent mom to the rivals, I can't even imagine the feeling. But also given that Liberia Sig had targeted Syko Bob's mom, it's almost like HMT Trey should have known this could happen. It's like you guys targeted his mom and now he goes and gets revenge. As horrible and unforgivable as it is, you guys did start this. And because of this logic, everyone believed that Syko Bob had done this. It only made sense. James Hardwick would eventually be arrested for this, but for the meantime, Syko Bob was like enemy number one. He did this to HMT Trey's mom. So now the ops want to get him like never before. And that takes us to April 26, 2021. It's a regular Monday afternoon in Fort Lauderdale and Syko Bob is rolling through in an underbucket space shuttle. As he's making it up State Road 7, a black BMW X6 and a beige minivan pull alongside both sides of him. He's fully tinted up, slapping music, so he's not paying attention to it as he approaches a red light. This is when the van pulls in front of him and the BMW pulls behind him, completely boxing him in. And before Syko can maneuver his way out, a man hops out of the BMW. He quickly walks up to Syko's car and completely airs it out. After emptying a clip, he hops back in his car and both cars split away. Syko was hit up and completely stuck in his car. But thankfully an ambulance arrives in 10 minutes and Syko Bob survives his injuries. Either way, this was the closest call yet, as Syko really could have just died right there. Now you'd think that this scary incident would shake him up, like let me calm down, let me get out of the way. Or you'd think that it would even humble you, like wow, I'm not untouchable. But don't forget that this is Syko Bob, so what do you think he does? After surgery, Syko Bob goes right to Instagram. He posts on his story, "Don't send me nothing about get well when nothing happened to me." Of course he was lying, but I guess he was saying like, "Ops, try harder next time." This is when the beef begins to go viral, and it actually helps out all of their careers. The beef actually introduces the world to HMT Trey, who's easily the best rapper in the entire beef. Like if you pause this video and go check out his songs, I won't even be mad at you. Just remember to leave a like and subscribe, that's all I ask. But just like HMT Trey, Syko Bob and WizTheWizard's careers would go up as well, with millions of views and a ton of fans following the beef. Ugh, all those goofies sitting in their mom's basement, you know, what's gonna happen next? I can't relate. But the weirdo fans would be rewarded just 2 months later, as Syko Bob was shot at again in Dania Beach.
And he said I can't relate, that's when he used to do it too.
HMT were really not playing, as they were coming through and lighting it up at any given chance. In fact, within the next 3 months, HMT would allegedly commit 7 separate shootings. Thankfully though, nobody would pass away in any of these incidents, but then, let's get into it. First, let me explain that WsDaWizard is nothing like Psycho Bob, meaning that you're not going to catch him rolling down the interstate not paying attention or loafing in his hood. He's really kind of hard to get. He's super tactical, constantly going from city to city, breaded up. He's just that guy. So realistically, if the ops ever want to catch him, they need somebody on his team to switch sides on him. And unfortunately, in every clique, there will always be snakes. Snakes that you won't see until they bite you, and it's far too late. Why I say this? Well, allegedly, WsDaWizard falls victim to a snake in his circle.
Who that? I want to see who.
As we know, the streets of Broward are completely split.
That's why I don't do friends, man.
Split into 2 sides. That's except for one person, a close childhood friend of both HMT Trey and WsDaWizard. This would be a rapper named 26CJ, and why they allowed him to be on both sides of the beef? Well, A, he has a beef that has nothing to do with their beef, and B, because they're really both close childhood friends with him. So in a sense, they both kind of trust him to not set each other up, like he's gonna respect both of us in our own lanes. Well, keep all that in mind, and that fast forwards us to September 16th, 2021. It's 7 AM in Zone 10, and a body is discovered in the middle of the street. Specifically, the body is located just steps from WsDaWizard's childhood home. A neighbor dials 911, and when police arrive, they identify the body as 24-year-old Wisdom Williams. 24. A body is lit. September 16th, us in our own lanes. Kind of trust him to not set each other up, like he's gonna respect both of us in our sense they both beef, and B, because they're really both close childhood friends with him. So in a sense, they both kind of B, both sides of the WsDaWizard. That's except for one person, a close childhood friend of both HMT Trey and WsDaWizard. This would be a rapper named 26CJ, and why they allowed him to be on both sides of the beef? Well, A, he has a beef that has nothing to do with their beef, and B, because they're really both close childhood friends with him. So in a sense, they both kind of trust him to not set each other up, like he's gonna respect both of us in our own lanes. Well, keep all that in mind, and that fast forwards us to September 16th, 2021. It's 7 AM in Zone 10, and a body is discovered in the middle of the street. Specifically, the body is located just steps from WsDaWizard's childhood home. A neighbor dials 911, and when police arrive, they identify the body as 24-year-old Wisdom Williams. The body is discovered with dozens of bullet wounds, yet police had not received any calls for shots fired within the last 48 hours. Something is not adding up, especially because there's a trail that goes right into an abandoned home. Because of this, police believe that he was lured into the abandoned home, and this is where somebody set him up. Then it appears that he was dragged just steps from his childhood home, possibly to send a message. Somebody set him up, but who could have done this?
I want to know who.
Well, just the next day, 26CJ would post on Instagram a bunch of cash that's written out to be King Cobra. Now, what does this mean? Well, King Cobra could allude to the fact that he just snaked somebody out. But that aside, why are you smiling and flexing cash the day after your childhood best friend was found dead? It doesn't quite add up.
Your childhood best friend, man. And you did that to him because of money. That's sick.
Well, if you think that I'm just making something out of nothing, let's fast forward to later this same night. This is when CJ goes on live with...
Oh, that's the reason why you gotta shoot side. That's why. So they don't, like, they be thinking that you're gonna snake. You're a snake. Oh, okay, I can see that.
HMT Trey smiling and clowning around.
Obviously, you can't deny that this is suspicious. You go on live with your friend's op who just died. Did I say that right? You get what I'm trying to say.
Slimy. Watch who you call your friends. If you're not already a believer in this theory, well, 2 years later, HMT Trey would be arrested for the murder of WsDaWizard. So take this as a lesson learned. If you're in the streets, you truly cannot trust anybody. Even your close childhood friends will slime you out. Man, this beef is wicked. We got moms dead, friends setting up other childhood friends, cars getting boxed in and lit up. this shit is crazy. The waters are so deep that if you're in this beef, there's no stopping what's coming to you. But the craziest part for me to think about is that these dudes have to continue living their day-to-day lives amidst this crazy war. They've got bills, rap careers, families to take care of, or how about just living your own personal lives? Handling all these responsibilities with the constant thought of, will I die today? That's insane. And that fast forwards us a week after the devastating loss of Wiz the Wizard. September 23rd, 2021. It's an average day in the life of Syko Bob as he heads to the Aventura Mall to do some fancy shopping. Thanks to Kodak and Sniper Gang, Bob goes straight to Neiman Marcus to look for some designer. Well, little does he know his main op, HMT Trey, is at the mall as well, a recipe for disaster. They're now bound to cross paths, and literally anything could go down. And just like that, while Bob is in the shoe department, HMT Trey spots him and begins walking his way. Thankfully, both of them are smart enough to not do anything violent, but they do get into an argument. And this is when Syko Bob gets extremely disrespectful. In fact, he disses his deceased mom right to his face by saying, "That's why your mama got put up."
Your mama got put up.
This is the ultimate disrespect, like straight up evil energy. All the targeting parents is like the worst thing ever, but sadly this would just be the beginning of it. And now that introduces us to HMT Trey's childhood best friend. Let me introduce you to a young man named Jared McCabe, commonly known as EBK Hatch. Just like Trey, Hatch grew up rough in Liberia with his father in and out of prison and his mom doing whatever she could to provide. And given these tough circumstances and his surrounding environment, he decided to jump off the porch with his HMT homies. And from what the rumors say, as soon as he jumped off the porch, Hatch was really like that, like the first dude out the car. And if you don't believe me, believe the Broward County District Attorney, because they say that he's responsible for multiple murders. And given how active he was, a lot of people on the other side wanted him gone. And when they couldn't get to him, well, you know how this story goes. In late November of 2021, his father would be the target of a violent attack. Some unidentified suspects would track him down and pull up to his address, and sadly, this is where they would lay him down.
That's crazy.
This was yet another innocent parent targeted by their son's beef. Just truly tragic and heartbreaking, and the worst part about it is that Syko Bob was the first person to clown it. In fact, he'd post on his story, "I heard he was about 50 when he got hit up with them switches." Trolling someone's innocent deceased father. I don't even know what to say. Doing this to any man will probably make him crash out, but when you're dealing with EBK Hatch, it's going to be a whole lot more than that. This was the mistake of all mistakes, dissing HMT Trey's mom and then EBK Hatch's dad? Huh, something vicious was about to come. It would all begin on December 15th, 2021 when HMT Trey would personally shoot up Syko Bob's house. Absolutely lit it up, but thankfully everyone was okay, including Syko. However, according to the feds, HMT Trey was not satisfied with attempts. He truly wanted a body, and allegedly just a month later he would successfully catch one. The details are definitely slim, but allegedly on January 22nd he would claim the life of one of Syko Bob's close friends. This would sadly be a young man from Dania Beach by the name of Marquis Florence.
That's why if one of my friend is a gang member, I just stop talking to you, man, because stay away from me, man. Stay away from me. I'm my own gang. I don't care. I work by myself. Don't play with me. Stay away from me. If you're in a gang, stay away from me. Simple as that.
Details on the case are definitely slim, but what we do know is that HMT Trey and Liberia Sig would slide again later that day. They would allegedly catch two more of Syko Bob's friends named Rosiah Bordeaux and Derek Thomas, and again sadly they would bust all over them, but thankfully both of them would end up surviving. At this point, Liberia is not playing. They're willing to risk it all for the sake of revenge. But despite catching a body in 2 attempts in the same day, Syko Bob is not fazed at all. In fact, directly after this, he'd get on Instagram Live and instigate even more by saying that he slept with Liberia Sig's mom.
I don't care what a post, you can't top a nigga your mama, boy. That's real. Now, you gonna wanna beat you, so go beat your mama.
Sheesh, this is the...
Yeah, he look like Kodak Black though. He look like Kodak Black, right? I think he look like...
You gonna wanna beat you, so go beat your mama.
Sheesh, this is disrespectful, and the craziest part is that it gets even worse. Right after this, Syko Bob would release a song called Stepdaddy, alluding to the fact that he slept with Liberia Sig's mom and how that now makes him his stepdaddy. He says her good, but her head immaculate. That's the op mama? Yeah, I smashed it. On top of this, he even disses EBK Hatch's dad in the song as well. Man, this dude does not care, even though he knows that the people he's dissing are literal killers. But for the meantime, after all this disrespect, Syko Bob is able to lay low without consequences as he's running around with Sniper Gang. At this point, he truly feels like he's on top of the world. He's constantly dissing his ops, and then he gets to ride around with Kodak with a whole bunch of money. But when you're putting all this evil energy out into the world, sadly, it'll come back around on you. And that fast forwards us to September 13th, 2023. It's a regular Wednesday evening in Fort Lauderdale, and Syko Bob's mom is chilling in her driveway. Just chilling with her family with nothing to worry about, cause Syko had moved her to a neighborhood way deep in Fort Lauderdale, far away from the hood in Dania. But somehow after 2 years of living there, the rivals were able to finally find her address. And when I say rivals, I specifically mean HMT Trey, Liberia Sig, Hot Rod, and Rico, the 4 HMT demons. Well, according to the feds, as soon as they obtain her address, they slide out together in a Dodge Charger. At 6 p.m., the 4 steppers make their way from Liberia to Fort Lauderdale with nothing but revenge on their minds. And at 6:08, they arrive to the address where they spot Syko Bob's mom sitting in her car right out front. So tragically, this is when they hop out and completely unleash.
Damn, they killed us.
And now on to a deadly discovery after a woman was found dead inside a van in Fort Lauderdale.
The back windows of the van appeared to be shot out. Local 10 News reporter Ian Margle is live with the latest on this investigation. Ian.
Things in this Fort Lauderdale neighborhood really quiet now, but last night this was a very busy scene, and I've spoken with family members of this victim. They tell me they are absolutely heartbroken today. Let's take you back to that scene last night, right around 6 p.m. Fort Lauderdale police say they responded to the home on Northwest 30th Way and 21st Street, where we're standing right now. They found a woman shot in the front seat of a van right in the driveway here. The woman was pronounced dead on the scene, and the detectives began their investigation, working the area for any evidence of what may have happened here or why this woman was targeted. Now, we have been able to confirm through family and neighbors, this woman was named Dorothy Smart. She went by Dee Dee. Neighbors say she was a lovely person, an absolutely great person to be around. We have also confirmed she is the mother of South Florida rapper Syko Bob. We're trying to get more information about exactly what happened here. We have been able to confirm no arrests have been made.
This was the ultimate tragedy for Syko. I mean, damn, after already surviving one attempt, they slid on his mom again? But when you keep trolling other people's parents who were deceased, it's almost like, what do you expect to happen back to you? What do they say? It ain't fun when the rabbit got the gun?
Yeah, the rabbit got the gun. That's crazy. It's a cute rabbit.
Or you get a taste of your own medicine. And just like he did to them, they would do right back to him, because as soon as the news broke, they began trolling online. Specifically, Hatch would hit him right back with the same quote that he used when his father passed away. Honestly, this is the worst beef I've ever seen. Like, where can we even go from here? The pure amount of evil and disrespect I've truly never seen before, and I don't even understand how it could get worse. We've got 2 moms dead, a dad dead, and a whole bunch of young men gone way too soon. Literally, there's so many that I could make 5 separate videos on this. I kid you not. And the craziest part is that over the next year, Liberia was not done with their mission. In fact, they were just getting started. First, Dania's Anwan Dobard, also known as Sauce, well, he would lose his life to HMT's Kavaris Johnson. Well, all this is allegedly, because the case hasn't been convicted yet. Then directly after, Kavaris would allegedly catch another body, a man named Ronaldo Donar. Then a man from Zone 10 named Dwayne Smith, also known as Marlo Top, well, he would fall victim to Liberia Sig. Then just days later, his friend named Terrence Farrington would lose his life as well. Then after this, tragically, a football player who happened to be from Zone 10, well, he would lose his life as well.
Miramar police posting photos of 17-year-old Johnny Henderson to social media, hoping someone, somewhere, knows something.
It appears that bullets came in from a variety of angles.
The driver's side window of this white Sonata shot multiple times. Police say Johnny was behind the wheel.
Another young life lost in Broward, all due to a silly beef.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, after Liberia would go on this enormous tear of violence, it would finally all catch up to them.
Developing at noon, a crime crackdown involving several law enforcement agencies.
Yeah, they arrested 8 suspected gang members wanted for murders and multiple shootings. Local 10 Sanella Sabovic is live with the details of this month's long investigation. Sanella.
That's right, ladies. Following this months-long investigation, the Broward Sheriff's Office making a big bust, arresting 8 gang members they say are violent. I want to get you straight to their mugshots. This has been a multi-agency effort. Again, all 8 gang members have been indicted on 33 counts that include charges of murder, attempted murder, and racketeering. The defendants are Sigmund Brown, Kavaris Johnson, Gerard Charles, Vondarius Davis, 16-year-old Raja Roll, Tyreek Jackson, Jared McCabe, and Trayvon Key. This interagency operation began after one of the suspects, Sigmund Brown's fingerprint, was recovered from a car connected to a homicide that happened back in January at Best Buy in Plantation. And from there, detectives were able to connect the 8 defendants to the 8 homicides that occurred in different cities in Broward County. Detectives also recovered guns. We have a photograph of that. BSO sent that to us. And some of those defendants did end up making a court appearance today to be arraigned on all of those violent charges. 5 showed up. 2 were reset for Friday due to timing reasons.
Yo, you see them guns, yo? Big guns, yo. Switch. AK-47. Wait, that's AK-47, right? One of them.
A court appearance today to be arraigned on all of those violent charges. 5 showed up. 2 were reset for Friday due to timing reasons, and 1 suspect, Vondarius Davis, refused to appear. Again, this was nearly a year-long operation. These gang members, authorities say, are not only connected to 8 murders, but more than a dozen attempted murders.
How they got arrested for all this is kind of an interesting story. Basically, Hot Rod got arrested first for an isolated incident, and then they went through his phone. And that's where police discovered the HMT iMessage.
Hi, Lauren. I heard you order from the new pizza place in town. It is so good. You have to try it. Yo.
Group chat where they talked about everything they had done since the very beginning. I'm talking about confessions to murders, locations dropped, clowning ops, everything. So now they're all pretty much guaranteed to do life in prison. Now for them, this obviously sucks, but for Syko side and the Zone 10 side, this is amazing. No more ops to hide from or worry about, which also means no more ops to go hunt. However, there was one last person free who they were desperate to get revenge on. That takes us back to the loss of WizDaWizard and how there was a man who people think set him up. This would of course be he and HMT Trey's mutual friend named 26CJ, the one who after WizDaWizard's loss would get online and start clowning with HMT Trey. Well, after the years passed, the Zone 10 and Nightmare side did not forget what happened. And that takes us to March 30th, 2024. It's 6 in the morning in a quiet neighborhood in Pompano Beach. This is when the neighborhood hears a flurry of bullets. Over 50 shots heard in the distance, so obviously neighbors call 911 and police begin searching around for victims. As the sun rises and the streets brighten, they notice some smoke in the distance. So they drive towards it and they end up in a back alley, and this is when they see a car completely lit on fire. Boom! That's when a massive explosion takes place. This is when the fire department arrives.
Oh nah, they're burning the snake. That's crazy. They're gonna turn him to snake oil. That's crazy. Snake oil.
Drive towards it and they end up in a back alley, and this is when they see a car completely lit on fire. Boom! That's when a massive explosion takes place. This is when the fire department arrives, puts out the fire, and police began investigating the scene. They would discover a body, mark it as a homicide, and were waiting to see who it was. Then days later, it would be identified as 24-year-old Javion Ross, also known as 26CJ. Sadly, to this day, nobody has been arrested for this. Man, this beef was different. Now honestly, I have no idea if the beef is still going on or it ended. I really have no idea, because pretty much one side is in jail and the other side is kind of all gone. And now basically we're just left with Syko Bob. Pretty much the lone survivor. How he even made it this far through this wicked beef is beyond me. Like, everyone else fell victim, but you. So I guess let's just hope that the beef ended here and that everything can be peaceful in Broward. And I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something from it, because when you join this type of life, there's no good outcomes. Well, if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe and let me know what you want to see next. Peace!
Hey guys, man, that was a crazy story. What in the world? Yo, what the hell? What should I do next, guys? Not him though. Jamaican man all cheat with the body. Yo, that's crazy. The real killer. We exposed. Who will it kill Michael Jackson? That's nuts too. That's fucked up. I wanna watch it. You think Tim's gonna give me copyright? But anyway, that's crazy, man. Make sure you subscribe and like and share. I'm gonna stop the stream because I'm sick, man. I cannot stay for that long, man. I want to, but man, listen. I'm gonna get rested, feel better, sleep, shower and stuff, and then boom. Alright, don't stop. Subscribe if you're new. Please, guys, if you feel a lot of rejection, abusive, and all this, just keep grinding. Trust me, it will come. The light will be out. The light, the sun, the tunnel, you will see the light on the tunnel. Trust me. And the tunnel is sometimes it get deeper and deeper. I got a lot of losses, take a lot of L, plus tickets. I had a bad day, man. Back to back, plus the ticket. That's crazy. Alright, man, I'm out. Peace out. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'm out, man. This story was dope, to be honest, but my mind is full right now. It's crazy. Syko Bob is really a psycho. Damn, this guy. So disrespectful, man. Oh God, respect to you too, man. I'm out, man. Yo, what the hell? What the helly?